Now it's a bit like a limousine. Limousine. Hello. Well, this is great. I'll give everybody a second just to get settled. Hello. Oh, awesome. So many familiar faces. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Maggie Barton Baird. I own MB & Company. We're an event planning firm here in Edmonton and have the absolute pleasure of working with Alberta Innovates. And of course, this is an Alberta Innovates program. So without further ado, I am going to invite Ash Maurya up on the stage to tell us a little bit about what the LeanStack program has been up to, and give us a little bit of information and overview on that. So as soon as we're able, if we can, there we go.
Hi there, Maggie.
Hello. I'll leave it to you, Ash. Tell us all about LeanStack and what everybody's been up to.
Sure. Thank you. So let me just get this screen share going. Huh, interesting. Give me 1 second here. It seems like it's... Okay. Okay, there we go. Just lost my mouse there for a second. I was not able to get that. Sorry about that. Welcome, everyone. So I'm not going to take too long. Really want to give you a big picture overview of what the teams have been going through. And so we'll start off with some sad news or some bad news. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this unfortunately is the sad reality of startups and most new products in general. Most products in general fail, and most of you know this already. This is another way to kind of think of that. When we talk about product success, we are talking about achieving product market fit. And that for many of you is the way we think of product market fit as the inflection point when the business starts to grow, the inflection of the hockey stick curve. And at that point, some success is guaranteed. And so the way you see this picture or understand this picture is the same. 8 out of 10 startups fail, 20% make it, 80% never find product market fit. Takes on average about 2 years to get there. Now, the media generally doesn't talk about what happens prior to product market fit. It really is only talking about successes and of course the unicorns, and that's where a lot of the attention goes. And we oftentimes will just call the early stage the messy beginning. You know, it looks something like that. You go in, there's a bunch of zigzag, and then you come back out. And unfortunately, that doesn't help do any service to those that are in that messy beginning. And oftentimes what happens is teams start obsessing about how to get to product market fit prematurely. So how do I get there? How do I get past product market fit? Becomes the top concern. And this leads to premature optimization, which is one of the top reasons startups get defocused and generally go off track. So studies have been shown there are many of these things that kill startups, but this one is way up there. So focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time. Now, the early stage is messy. I'm going to admit that, but it doesn't have to look like this. So we at LeanStack don't envision the early stage to be aimless wandering, but really something more along the lines of an idea labyrinth. All of you have played the labyrinth game, maybe in a real labyrinth or on paper, and the objective is to get out, right? So we get in, and the objective for a startup is to really get out of this maze before running out of resources. The way we try to frame that is finding a plan that works or finding a business model that works before one runs out of resources. Now, to be able to do this in the world that we live, which has changed and is constantly changing, with the pandemic, you will hear a story of at least one of the startups that had to deal, actually more than one of them that had to deal with the reality of the pandemic, requires different skill sets versus different mindsets or vice versa. Success today isn't really about what we know, but rather how we apply it. And so a lot of our program really focuses on the skills, the mindsets that one needs to be able to overcome some of the uncertainty that is just all around us. And one of the things that we heavily highlight is the mindset of rollout in stages, or this idea of permission to scale. So you can't really get to product market fit or the right-hand side of this hockey stick curve without going through those first stages. And this in many ways is basically where you find a lot of the discovery, where you find a lot of the insights. If you think of what a startup does, they're in the business of creating something new that has been never been done before, solving sometimes an old problem in a new way. And that requires a different way of seeing that in the beginning may sound a little bit crazy. People don't get it. It requires discovery. It requires insights. As Peter Thiel likes to call it in his book, 0 to 1, it requires uncovering some secrets, seeing things that others don't. The good news, of course, is that this can be done systematically. So we break the journey to product market fit into a set of earlier stages, and we start off with business model fit. We then go off into doing customer problem discovery, so customer problem solution fit. And then after you have found a problem worth solving, that is when we start thinking about solutions and products and go to market and all of those kinds of things. So there is a systematic approach to the madness that is the startup. To give you kind of a visual roadmap, and this gets pretty busy, but this is what the teams have been going through over the last 4 months. We break this journey into 3 main blocks. The Alberta Innovates Accelerator Program was focused on the first 2, so business model design and then validation. And then within them, we kind of have some further courses and campaigns that we run. And I'll give you just a quick overview of what the teams have done in each of these stages. So if you look at the first piece here, business model design, the first thing I'll say is that a lot of the teams came here at various stages of their own, somewhere early in ideation, somewhere much later in their validation stages. But all of them start off with some basic foundational kind of work and then business model baselining, the business model design phase. And what we do here for about 4 weeks is really look at the ideas through 3 different lenses. So we look at it from a customer desirability lens, which is how does a customer see your product from a problem lens? Does it really solve a problem? Is it a big enough problem? That's where we use a tool like the business model canvas or the lean canvas specifically to break that apart. After that, we look at the ideas through viability, which is testing if the idea can scale. Is it big enough? Can we find enough customers? Is the market big enough? And then finally, we start modeling or looking at the idea through a feasibility lens. And this is where we map out a validation strategy, and it leads to some clear or clearer 90-day goals that we can then get the teams focused around. So this is how we bring some of that focus in the very early stages. And then the rest of the program, which is the heart of it, is very much around experimentation, modeling, learning. So we teach how to run experiments. We teach how to sell before you build. There's no point selling something that somebody doesn't want. And so we actually flip the playbook around. And to give you a little sneak peek of what that looks like, this is what one of the playbooks, the demand generation, which is where most of the teams spend their time in, what that looks like. And so the only takeaways I want you to kind of take from this is that it is iterative. You can see these sprints. There are 2-week sprints where teams are identifying areas of risk in their business models. In the beginning, it often is around problems and customers, and then eventually it shifts more into solution, pricing, those kinds of concerns. But we prioritize what's riskiest, and in 2-week iterations, rapidly test, learn, and then there's going to be lots of course corrections along the way. And so final slide here, what you're going to hear today is a snapshot of that story. So hopefully it's not going to sound a lot like aimless wandering. It's going to sound a little bit more like the picture on the right. These are snapshots. They're not finished stories. All these startups are still in the validation phases. And so you'll hear stories of traction. You'll hear stories of pivots. You will hear some stories of maybe some resets and some pivots, but above all, you will hear lots and lots of learning. And that's what we are here to celebrate today. So with that, I will pass the stage back to Maggie, and we can have maybe the first startup on stage.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ash. I love the reframing to a labyrinth. It's so great. Before we invite our first companies up, I wanted to take a quick moment to acknowledge that we are all across Alberta today, which is incredible. It's so cool to all be together, and that we span a number of different lands and treaties. So I did want to acknowledge that across Alberta, we have Treaty 6, Treaty 7, Treaty 8, as well as a number of Métis territories across the lands, as well as First Nations and Inuit folks. So I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the innovation that they've been doing for centuries. So with that, I am going to pass it off to our first company, which is Kyle from Origami. So we're going to hear from him. It just takes a second to grab him and get him to click all the right buttons and come on up. So we'll just give him a quick second on the tech side. Awesome. There he is. Hello, Kyle. So you can take it away. You've got 5 minutes. And everyone, please put questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll ask 1 or 2 questions of Kyle at the end.
Sorry, Maggie, this is not going like the dry run yesterday.
That is A-okay. I think you're sharing your whole screen. So if you want to go to whatever application, there you go. So if you press play on that, then you should be good to go.
Do you see my presenter notes when I do it, though? Is the problem?
I do, yeah, because we see the whole screen.
Oh, no, but when I hit play, are you seeing my presentation or my notes?
We are seeing your notes.
Yeah. So, okay. Well,
do you want to maybe do it without your slides?
Sure.
That'd be a great idea. So just click that. Yeah, there you go. Enjoy. All you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Kyle McLeod, CEO at Origami. So at Origami, we're committed to helping end workplace mental health crisis in North America. So we help organizations thrive by providing them data to their leaders that's needed to foster healthy, engaging workplaces and healthy, highly successful and productive workforces with our innovative SaaS. So as the only platform with customized real-time reporting and contextualized analysis, we are supporting organizations to manage staff well-being, teams' health and success, and key performance measures at all levels of their organization. So whether that's at a desktop, laptop, or palm of one's hand, we give leaders the ability to proactively monitor, measure, and manage team and organizational stress and success. And for the first time, the ability to sort of see how the impact of mental health impacts their organization. So individually, staff are able to monitor and are actively monitor their own stress levels, health and well-being. And because we're able to integrate with extended health benefits, they can be more effective and proactive in making the most of their benefits. So all of this results in a healthier, more engaged, productive workforce. And so reducing costs, liabilities, and human errors, and the number of lives lost. So how it works is basically there's micro surveys. They're designed to take no more than 60 seconds, and they're composed of psychometric questions that feed into dozens of different data models that span health and wellness, communication, team dynamics, professional skills, and workplace culture. So when we entered LeanStack, the primary market that we were going after was healthcare. So the reason for this was because we built Origami to solve what is likely the biggest existential crisis within healthcare. So system-based factors create healthcare worker burnout and really high rates of suicide, generally 4 times higher than average in society, and also an awful lot of preventable patient harm. And so it's actually the 3rd leading cause of death in both Canada and the United States. So there are some pretty significant economic and social reasons to solve this problem. So as Ash, Richard, and Stefan noted so stingingly in our sessions, we couldn't have picked a harder industry to sell into. But we also knew healthcare really well, and we had a network that was pretty helpful. So we weren't starting at square zero. And we also had several irons in the fire, and people kept taking our calls, which was great. But we were concerned too, because healthcare has a really long sales cycle, and there's always multiple stakeholders that are required in these engagements. And as a startup with a commercial ready product seeking traction, that was a really dangerous game to play. So we oscillated back and forth on whether we should lean into healthcare or hedge our bets and focus on something in another vertical. So the advice that we got in our sessions was really helpful in the manner in which we pressed forward and allowed us to better steer the conversations in which we were having. So our coach, Richard, who certainly has his own way with words, and I'm not likely to forget these ones, said at one point, "I don't think I've seen someone move from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence directly before." So like Richard, your words are certainly unique. But because we were getting such strong signals within healthcare, and making more progress than we were really expecting, it was decided to lean into that while also developing a lottery ticket approach to securing customers in other verticals. So one of our biggest obstacles while navigating the opportunities was that the pandemic. So basically the mental health of frontline staff has never been so well understood and as much of a concern. But it's also marginalized at the same time. So because what we're really offering is a better tomorrow for them. And that's when everyone's simply fighting to make it through this shift and hopefully not run out of medical or life-saving medical supplies. The future doesn't really have much relevance. So in one of our sessions, we were challenged to turn our obstacle into an opportunity. So we have access to these decision makers. What can we offer that provides support for any of their urgent problems? So this led us to developing and beginning the marketing process and selling process of the emergency wellness check, which is an immediate, meaningful way to assess and support the mental health of your team. And so again, equally relevant in multiple different industries. So like here's our traction roadmap and our minimum success criteria. So we started with a goal of setting up to achieve 10 strategic trials within healthcare, which would put us into the realm of validating product market fit, again, specific to this market. So we have 4 formally agreed to at this point that are deployed, pending deployment, and that we have also been spending a fair bit of time building rapport with stakeholders and building a pretty large tent within AHS of administrators that have a really strong interest in our ability to offer metrics that haven't particularly existed before and that can assist them with their quality improvement and patient safety portfolios. So we're beginning talks in deploying a minimum of 2 other fairly significant trials. And there's a few things that have just come into the inbox this afternoon that we're pretty excited about, but we're not obviously going to make any comments about at this point.
Awesome.
So
that was fantastic.
Here's our team.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that was it. It was just want to give credit to.
Yeah, give them credit. Who's on your team?
So Christy, who's here with us today, Nadim. So he's our emergency medicine physician. He's the problem specialist, and then we have our technical and sales supports on the other side.
Awesome. So we have one question for you in the chat that I'd love to hear your response for. So the question is, how do you manage privacy for your users?
Oh, privacy is paramount. So anyone's individual analytics are theirs alone. No one has any access to, like, we as a company, we don't even have access to them. So we end up we built it in a way because our first target was healthcare. We built it in a PIPEDA and HIPAA compliant sort of manner to deal with those objections.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to leave it there for you, Kyle. Everyone, after we're done presentations, there's going to be tons of time to head to everybody's tables and ask them questions. So if you have questions for Kyle, just keep them in mind. And we're going to quickly pull Kyle off the stage as we get ready for our next group, which is G2V Optics, who I know through a bunch of different work that we've been doing. So I'm excited to hear about this. And we're going to be calling Nick up on the stage. So like I said, it just sometimes takes a quick second just to grab everyone and press all the buttons. There's Nick.
Hello.
Perfect. Nick, I will leave it to you. You have 5 minutes.
Great. Okay, everybody, hopefully that's working out. I guess I'll hear from Maggie if it's not. And here we go. Okay, so I'm Nick Calagiro. I'm a solution architect at G2V Optics, and I'm in the research and development team. And LeanStack, what was our big goal? So the North Star for this whole program is get onto a favorably termed Series A, and one that where it aligns with our mission and gives us some level of control. So you obviously need some level of like good valuation for that. And so how do you develop a recurring revenue product which gets us there? So we roughly average maybe about 3 FTE out of about 20 in our company to devote to this program. I'm one of those people. And yeah, a lot of interviewing, right? A lot of talking with customers. And of course, like that whole mantra of traction before you build, we really, really live by that in this program, and really trying to tackle the riskiest things first. So here's the story of what we call the hyperpod. That's our solution. So indoor farming is a really challenging problem. Something's always going wrong with either your plants or kind of like your building, that kind of thing. Plants get stressed. And the key here is plants display stress before the human eye can see. And so you got to manage the right stress levels within your plants and amidst all of those changing conditions. And so you can avoid crop loss, you can improve taste, chemical potency, the yield of your crop, getting to that bottom line, consistent profitability, right? The obstacles, though, is like growers in these indoor farm facilities, like generally you tell about the health of a plant through human vision, which is from 400 to 700 nanometers in wavelength. That's like the colors of the rainbow, right? And the current sensors in the field that you can get are all about the environmental conditions. So temperature, humidity, CO2, that kind of stuff, not plant health directly usually. You need kind of like visual system, or like, because light bounces off plants and kind of like comes back out, and that's something you can detect. So we're bringing something from the outdoor farming technology space into the indoor farming technology space called hyperspectral sensing. And the short of it is we can, days before a human could see, you can early detect water stress from disease and pests, and like nutrients. And it's basically, we're building like this hardware palm-sized box. It's got a little embedded computer, a hyperspectral sensor in it, a little RGB camera, an environmental sensor, and it's facing down on your indoor crops. And so for $30 per pod per month, you get an early warning system indoor plant stress detector, okay? So this is just during the demos, we would show kind of like, we literally just threw some like screen grabs together, and we kind of like discuss through, this was a time-lapse video we used to discuss like with our customers what it might look like, some of the solution. And you would set alerts and thresholds, and you are able to tell when your plant is stressed. The business model, again, right off the bat, it's, first of all, does it fit our mission? Second of all, does it fit like our mission to better the world with data and light? And if from a business perspective, is it going to get us to that valuation we need? So we needed, working backwards from all of that, we needed about 100 customers by April 1 or so. I'm glad to report that we totally hit it. And that was mainly because of our warm customers in the beginning. Of course, once you run out of your warm network, this is where you see this precipitous drop off to the green, which is we set up a Google AdWords like landing page to get random people around the world to sign up for this kind of thing. One person was super interested in it, got 20 pods, but then it just kind of like trickled along from there. But we're like super pleased with this because we have like a 50% close rate off of cold leads, which is unheard of. Now, there's still a lot more work on the top of the funnel because it costs us a lot of money to kind of do the kind of like to acquire customers, but everything now is shifting towards the technical risk. How do we actually make this thing work? We have to build this thing now that we know that people are actually interested in. So there's the hardware, the supply chains, the prototypes, the sensor physics, and we're building out the software. We're hiring a vendor and using digital traction money to help out with like the marketing. There's a corporate thing where now that we have the traction, are we willing to spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars kind of like launching kind of like this new kind of product? And so that's what the next 3 months kind of like look like. And in the 6 months after that, we have to go from stress detector to cause of stress detector. So I have a nitrogen deficiency. I have these bugs, right? It's like not just a stressor, but what happens. And that should enable us to target a larger market, not just the early adopters. And just some last things, some insights we gained. You don't have to build out the entire vision of a product. It's enough just to de-risk the elements until you have confidence either to do it yourself or you can get other people on board. This is kind of like the Series A idea. You just need to build it out enough so you can get other people on board. That was like kind of like an aha moment for us. De-risking is not mystical, but you know the tendency is to de-risk the easier things. For an engineering company, that's building shit, right? Instead of like selling stuff out in the field. That's something that this program really helped us focus on. Interviewing and socializing the idea with a diverse set of like customers as you can get was like incredibly valuable work for us before starting to build. And we have like a sense that yes, we think that this thing is valuable. We think customers think this thing is valuable. And so it's an easy story for us to continue building this thing. And so that was our experience in LeanStack.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Nick. I'll get you to stop screen sharing so we can see you. Awesome. So we have a great question from Brandon. I was trying to think, if nobody has a question, what am I going to ask? And right as I was thinking that, Brandon asked an awesome question. And so he is wondering, how big are the pods or how large of a plant can they monitor?
Right. So it's about a palm-sized box. You can think of that. And it's going to be mounted, like a meter or two above the canopy. And so it generally looks at probably you could imagine like a meter by meter squared area of plants.
Very cool. We're going to leave it there because we went just a smidge over time. And we're going to pull you off stage, Nick. And next person is going to be, or next company is Goodlawyer. And we have Brett from Goodlawyer. So we're going to wait for the internet to do its thing and for Brett to come on up here and join me. Hello, Brett.
How you doing, Maggie?
Good. It's all yours. You got 5
right on.
minutes.
Can you see my screen? Beautiful. Thanks so much for having me. LeanStack has been an awesome journey on the longer Goodlawyer journey so far. And I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet. So Goodlawyer is a platform that connects entrepreneurs with affordable and fast legal help. We do that by being the bridge between those entrepreneurs looking for help and all of these independent solo or small firm lawyers across Canada who are able to offer their services at dramatically reduced prices. And we bolster that with this amazing customer support team and make sure that, hiring a lawyer doesn't have to be painful. Certainly not with Goodlawyer. So that's Goodlawyer in a nutshell. LeanStack was great for us. Let me just switch to my screen here. And really drove the idea of following the data. I'd always known it was important, but the experiences and the conversations with Ash really drilled that into my thick skull. And data is power. And it's not just quantitative data, it's also qualitative. And that was a big takeaway for me, was the importance. Again, I've read the startup books and I knew, but listening to it from Ash directly really lamented how important it is to talk to your customers and glean insights from them about future product decisions and markets to focus on. So do more of both. The second big takeaway from LeanStack for me and the team was identifying these trigger moments. So when you're thinking about personas, not just thinking of sort of the demographics, what does this person look like, but what's the moment that they're going through that's going to trigger their desire for your product. And then last is hunting for leverage and bottlenecks. And the example that I had on that was onboarding pros. So we based our LeanStack around one of our new product offerings, our first subscription, unlimited legal advice, $49 a month, little plug. Onboarding the pros was so important. And one of the guys on our team, Grant, really led that charge. And we found that when we onboarded pros well, they loved Goodlawyer. And when we didn't onboard them, sometimes they got lost in the shuffle. So that was a key learning from LeanStack that has certainly propelled our growth, which sort of skyrocketed during our LeanStack experience. So we've been chugging along since we launched the platform in January. We did a whopping, I think, $156 January 2020, and we did over 50,000 January 2021, and certainly can attribute some of that success to our LeanStack experience and really diving into what the customer is looking for. Building trust, retention for us is huge. You know, when someone finds a lawyer they trust, they tend to go back to that lawyer for a very long time, if not for always. And so for us, retention and ensuring that every customer had a fantastic experience was really critical to our growth. As you know, we're not onboarding thousands of new customers every month, but we're keeping all the customers that have had the Goodlawyer experience and continuing to add incrementally to that group. Last but not least, if you haven't tried Goodlawyer, we'd love for you to try it. Tech-free promo code at goodlawyer.ca will get you there. And with that, I'm going to flip back to this and happy to take any questions.
There we go. You can't turn on your camera and unmute yourself at the same time in Remo. So it's a bit of a juggle. There's lots of people talking in the chat about how they've used Goodlawyer, which is awesome. It means that you're definitely diving in the innovation and tech community. What would you say is the industry that Goodlawyer is serving the most right now? Is it tech and innovation? Is it somebody else?
Absolutely. Startups and consultants that work in the tech space, but consultants more generally, are definitely the two subsets of the entrepreneur that have been using our service the most and having the best time. We really are an option for small businesses of all shapes and sizes, but those two groups have, you know, just been loving Goodlawyer, and we're able to service them probably better than anyone else.
Nice. And the question that's kind of a few people have asked, so we'll go with this one as your second one. Who is vetting the lawyers? What's that process kind of like?
You're looking at them. We are actually onboarding a couple lawyers to the team, so I'll be offloading some of those responsibilities to the new lawyers joining the team. But so far, I've been vetting personally every lawyer on the platform. The beauty of lawyers is they can help a lot of clients, so we've just been adding slow and incrementally. It's getting faster, but incrementally as the demand grows. So that's afforded me the opportunity to vet every lawyer that we've onboarded myself, and now we're at the stage where the majority of our new lawyers are getting referred in from the existing lawyers on the platform.
Oh, that's awesome. And this is like so great. This is like every entrepreneur's need is a lawyer. And it's a scary thing when you start to go, oh, I need to look for a lawyer.
Well, I practiced corporate law for 4 years at one of the big shops, and finally just got fed up with the fact that I could never afford myself. And I just knew there had to be a better way. And Goodlawyer is early in its journey, but we're starting to make a difference.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for telling your story. If anybody needs legal advice or wants to learn about Goodlawyer, I guess they can head to your table after.
Promo code tech-free at goodlawyer.ca. You got it.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll get you to internet away. Our team will take care of that. Awesome. There we go. So the next team that we have is Integrity Technology Solutions with Cody and Cody, my favorite duo team. So we'll wait for them. There's one Cody, just waiting for the other one. Awesome. I will leave you both to it.
Great. Thanks very much, Maggie. I'm joined today by Cody Austin. He's the Director of Operations. I'm Cody Carroll. We're the two Codys. Just make it easy on everybody. If you need something, give Cody a call. We also have in the audience today Jason Weens, who is our Director of Technology. We're very proud to participate in this LeanStack program with Alberta Innovates support. It's been a remarkable program for really driving us past our comfort zones and with the pursuit of customers. And it's really created some great strategic structure for our organization, much like the labyrinth that Ash initially presented. So for our showcase today, we actually have a brief video that we're going to tee up to give you an introduction to ITS, after which Cody is going to walk us through where we're heading next. Cody?
Okay, I know the video about our initial market in the joint venture industry, but that's where we've had the most customer traction. However, our product can be utilized in a variety of other areas, such as internal audit, vendor compliance, accounts payable, receivable, or really anywhere where a financial transaction is governed by a complex agreement. So where are we going next? The ultimate purpose of ITS isn't just to create profitable tools and applications to help auditors, although that's certainly been part of our success story. Rather, our aim for the organization is to transform the audit and accounting industry by developing systems that facilitate real-time audit and transaction validations that can be layered onto payment technology platforms like blockchain. To summarize, we plan to further develop the applications companies need to build trust in their partners, to reduce expensive disputes and payment delays, and ultimately make them more competitive in the do more with less environment. So at ITS, we like to say we're truly in the business of trust. And with that, we'll turn it over to the audience for any questions we might have.
Perfect. A question. I was just thinking, oh, I'll ask my question, but this is great. Can this be applied to supply chain?
That's a great question. And the answer is absolutely. Anytime that you have an agreement between two parties, that's absolutely something that we're able to build into the application to look for ways that the agreement either is or is not being followed. So yeah, ultimately, the application is to make sure that your agreements are being adhered to with the information presented within the agreement itself, and then also within the invoices that are being charged and coming across, no matter how large or how many invoices you have. It really takes the manpower out of going through all those documents.
Awesome. We have one more question. It's a hard-hitting one, so we may have to continue the conversation after. But automated processes likely will lead to job losses. How do you deal with this conversation?
I love that question. The way that we deal with that conversation is that we're not taking away jobs. We're transforming jobs. We're changing jobs. So we're taking all of those more mundane tasks out of the process. There's still going to be a need for a human being and a brain at the end of the day to make sure that the results make sense. So we're not going to put anybody out on the street out of this. We're just simply going to allow those people to reallocate their time when they're trying to do more with less, to be able to simply do more.
That's
Great
fantastic.
question.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I actually had a similar question when I was thinking of mine, so I'm glad we got that answered. We're going to send you two away on the virtual thing that goes like this. I don't even know what to call it.
Virtual hook.
Yeah, the virtual hook. That's a great way of putting it. We will let you two go away, and folks can, again, chat with everyone at their tables afterwards. So if I didn't get to your question, be sure to head to their table. Also, be sure to stick in your questions in the chat quickly so we can get to them. I'm kind of just taking the first few that we see. So the next we have is Open Planet Technologies Management with Ade. I think we just need to pull Ade up and then hear more about that. Just give it 1 second. The virtual hook, I like that idea. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
You have 5 minutes. Take it away.
Good. Let me connect my... Maggie, can you see my screen now?
Not yet. We can't. If you click the share button and then you click, it'll prompt you to choose one of the, yeah, there we go. So you'll just want to go to a different screen. We're in a bit of a matrix because we can see remote. Perfect. There you go.
Good.
All yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Adel is my name, and I'm CEO and founder of Open Planet. The project we're working on is being Dress Vibe. Dress Vibe is a marketplace. We connect people who are interested in custom garments to tailors and garment manufacturers. So we are poised to be the biggest style shop for custom fit garment. This way, our value proposition for customers are to get custom garment delivered anywhere on the budget. On the tailor side, we offer them flexible schedules and opportunity to work from anywhere. The core novel thing about our technology is the contactless body measurement. Our business model is we take 15% on every transaction. So I quickly want to spend some time on how LeanStack has been a very fantastic program for us. Initially, when we started this program, we're doing things differently before. Our story is just like the story of Steve in the analysis of the tale of two entrepreneurs, of two founders. So initially, we're building technology. We focus more on technology with minimal engagement with the customer. But LeanStack approach kind of changed that mindset for us, and then we're pretty excited that we could actually begin to make sales without even actually building the product fully functional. So before LeanStack, we focus on product development. We focus on use cases and requirement gathering. And after LeanStack, during LeanStack, we started focusing on building traction, customer engagement, and there are quite a lot of insight, as we'll find out as I go through this presentation. We talk to numbers of customers. We take 27 orders in the process. We talked to 31 tailors, and about 546 tailors signed up on our platform already. We discover customer pain point, and we have a better understanding of our customer. One of the voice of the customer is one I have up here. One of the customers say beyond fitness and customization, quality is our main motivation, where they are attracted to our platform. Before now, we just focus on fitness. That was the core value proposition we're driving. So for the vendor side, they really appreciate the fact that they could own their craft and their labels. This part of our traction roadmap. This is our customer factory. So in the competitive landscape, one of take home for us regarding this program is being, as I said before, we focus more on a virtual artificial intelligence technology that help people to make our body measurement, and we felt that was a value proposition. But out of the engagement, we realized that our core competitive tool is actually to develop a personalized stylist approach. One of the order that we just got fulfilled a couple of days ago from Toronto, what the customer said was that the human element of it that they have is an expert being advising them on the outfit and customization. So what's next? What's next for us is to redevelop our landing page, interview more customers, test more hypotheses, and fulfill more order in the process. I'm gonna wait if anybody have any question for me.
This is fantastic. I love oh, we'll get you to stop sharing your screen so everybody can see you. Yeah, fantastic. Does anybody have any questions? That was a fantastic presentation. Where do you, what would you say out of the LeanStack program, if there was one takeaway that has just been, you know, that aha moment? We heard a couple people talk about those. Have you had one of those as part of the program?
So the main thing, the main takeaway for us is being our initial approach was the software engineering approach, where you engage with customer in a minimal level and document your requirement gathering. But with the LeanStack approach, we focus more on customer, and the main highlight of that is that structured approach of the interview process of talking to your early adopters. You test the problem, get permission from them whether you can actually fulfill order for them while the technology is still in development, and then referral, whether they're going to be able to recommend that that service for somebody else. So out of that, we are able to carve out a new value proposition, which is going to be very vital in competing going forward.
That's fantastic. We're going to say goodbye to you for the next little bit. And if anybody has more questions, you're welcome to head to Ade's table. Okay, next up, we have Real Deal Transaction Management with Siobhan. Siobhan will bring you up in just a second here. Perfect. There you are.
Hi.
Hello. All yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Siobhan Henry, and I am the founder of Deal Simple. Before LeanStack, DealSimple is a transaction management platform for real estate agents, and this is how we used to see ourselves before LeanStack. We had a product with a fully functioning MVP. We were addressing 2 different customer segments, agents and brokers within the real estate industry, and we had some active customers that were using the platform. Then we joined LeanStack and we started learning pretty quick. What we learned is, the first thing that we learned was that metrics matter. And while we had some active customers and we were able to make sales, we were struggling with a couple things. And the things we started to look at was activation. While they were using the platform, they were only using it partially. And then we had to look at why they weren't adopting the whole platform. And we realized that we were only part of their solution, not the total solution. We were acting as another tool, which was the way, one of the big problems that our customers had is a multitude of tools. And we needed to become the full toolbox because that was causing a little loss in the amount of customers that we had. And so we fixed it and built new features to address that. The second lesson that we learned was validate, do not assume. We needed to be more data-driven in terms of how we were looking at our customers. And so, because assumptions had been affecting the way we were seeing the problem, we were looking at the problem through our eyes and not the eyes of our customers, which was affecting how we were stating our unique value proposition to them and clouding which segments of the market we should really be tackling. And so we went and did some research and we realized that they don't want transaction management. They don't perceive the problem to be transaction management. Agents want an assistant. And fortunately for us, our product was built in a way where we could provide that sort of value without having to reinvent what we'd already done. But what we did do was we repositioned our messaging and we brought it to a couple of people in the market, and I just picked up the phone, started calling people, and realized that I could pitch it in a completely different way. And we pitched it as a virtual assistant service powered by our software. And it turned out really great because they weren't only really excited about the fact that they could hire an assistant for a fraction of the price, but we were able to raise our price point significantly. And everybody that we talked to bought into this idea. So thank you, LeanStack, because we were able to take our addressable market from $5.2 million to $130 million, which is pretty exciting for us as a company, because now we can do 2 products. So one is a service and the other one is the actual platform. And so the bottom blue line is where we would have been if we just had, where we could have been going in the future with DealSimple alone as software as a service. But now that we can combine it with a service concierge service that we're calling Deal Assist at the moment, we can definitely go to way better places. That's it.
That is fantastic. I love all the comments in the chat talking about how awesome it is that you learned and made this shift so quickly. Do you, briefly, my question is, can you talk a little bit about the difference of the two? Because you're going to keep the 2 platforms separately. That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah, so one is a service that really is taking care of the onboarding to the platform, because we found that a lot of people were struggling bringing their business into DealSimple, and that's part of what was preventing it. So our onboarding now we're selling as a service. And
Oh, fantastic.
so it's killing two birds with one stone, really. It's just positioning and messaging from the customer's perspective, what they perceive to be the problem, not what we perceive to be the problem, which is what we found out through the program.
That is fantastic. So cool. When I bought my place, I am sure my real estate agent could have used this. I should give him a call and pitch your product for you. So we're going to pull you off stage. If anybody has any more questions for Deal Simple, they will have a table when we head back to tables in the next little bit. So next up, we have resale with Alex. So we're going to bring Alex up and learn more about resale, who just went through a name change too. I don't know if he'll touch on that. Hello, Alex. You have 5 minutes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, I'm going to go without audio. For some reason, when I entered in, I can't hear you guys. So I'll just present without hearing and then.
Sounds great.
Okay. So we were Rentbridge. Coming into LeanStack, this is what we were. Our goal was, let's be the Airbnb for household items, being able to rent nearly anything you can find in a house or garage. And it sounded great. We had this massive market opportunity. We had an MVP. And through LeanStack and our coaches, we were really inspired to think of our sales in new ways. And we ended up getting to a point where we were doubling our sales every month, going after bigger and bigger clients. And so, but the problem is we were doubling our sales as in the people that we're onboarding, our lenders, we were getting double the listings every month. And we were getting good conversions with our users to sign up, but we weren't actually getting transactions. And after spending nearly $16,000 in marketing and making $20, we realized we really needed to change. So coming into this, we thought we knew what we were doing. We thought we had done a good enough market, had a good enough understanding of the market and our user. And so at first we didn't dive in and engage as much with the LeanStack material as we should have. But what we found when we got to this point in December, at the end of December, we're like, this is not working, is we need to change or die. Really, that's what we need to do. So we reassessed some of our market and some of our potentials and how we could repurpose this platform and the ideas that we had. And we ended up coming up with the idea resale. And it's because of what LeanStack gave us that we were able to have a playbook to go through so much faster and so much better to get this live. So we said, can we do all our market research, all our testing, and get traction for fundraising within just 3 months with what we've learned here? And thus far, we are pretty near on track to do that. So we found the problem is that getting rid of everything, when you have a garage sale, when you're cleaning out a closet, spring cleaning, it's painfully slow and complicated on secondhand marketplaces like Kijiji and Facebook. It takes a really long time. There's lack of commitment from buyers with tire kickers and no-shows, which are enabled by the system, and unnecessary back and forth communication. So we help by enabling people to save time and sell faster so they can just get back to enjoying life. So our technology enables people to sell up to 4 times or upload up to 4 times faster, and to sell all the listings or to streamline the listing of those items up to 10 times faster. So if you're just listing 1 or 2 items, like this really doesn't matter. You can just ignore what we're doing completely. But if you want to be listing 20 or even 100 or several hundred things at once, this is going to be a lifesaver. And also the exchange process after you listed those items has been significantly reduced friction and online payments with smart messaging to make that completely streamlined. So we help people list and sell lots of items in just minutes, not hours. And that they can then share their mini store with just a link so they can send it to Kijiji, Facebook, or however many marketplaces they want without having to repost every single time. So it's a tool that plugs into other marketplaces so you can get rid of everything you want. So again, LeanStack helped us rebuild that playbook to start from scratch so we can pivot and reset with a brand new product really fast. And they also gave us the coaching to rethink how we were approaching things and to play bigger and to envision more. And even just rethinking, we had no idea how unrealistic our expectations were with how many clients we needed. We needed thousands of clients making transactions on the platform to make enough transactions to even hit $2,000 in monthly revenue. With this new model focusing on power users, that thousands, which are about 5,000, has now been reduced to just 20 users a month, so that we can still hit our target to raise investor money. So right now we're testing our platform that we built in just 5 weeks. The goal is to be live mid-March, and then to have enough traction by May to justify an investor raise. So that's our goal.
Awesome. How do you, there's no questions in the chat, but I already have a question. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Oh, we can't hear you now. So you'll just have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Here, I can do it for you. If you just want to, don't press anything. I've asked you to unmute. You should have a little notification. There we go.
It was taking off the headphones. For some reason, those headphones were not detecting like they were yesterday.
That's okay. So my question for you is, you talked a bit about no-shows, which is the bane of my existence whenever I sell something. You know, you set up a time, they don't show up. How is your product helping with that?
Yeah, so a big problem with no-shows is two key things, is lack of commitment. There's no actual money exchanged. And then secondly, it's a lack of communication. So people aren't very good at scheduling, and they're not very good at following up. So we start off by, first off, people pay in advance. They put a transaction and then it's held. So it's not actually processed. Kind of like when you go to the gas station, you know, you authorize. And then after the transaction's approved, you just say, I bought this, I bought this, I bought this. And then it goes through. So and then the second part is we have a scheduling system that simplifies that process. And then you get notification, text reminders that say, hey, you show up in an hour. So that's how
That's fantastic. I need this.
So
I feel like people who are moving could really use your product. So.
I'm moving, so I built it for myself. I just listed 70 items prior to hopping on this call. So
love it. That's awesome. Well, anybody who has more questions, I see there are a few more. There's a few more folks that have questions, so they'll come and join you at the table. So we'll pull Alex away, and we're gonna get, or the virtual hook, as Cody coined it. I'm gonna use that. So next up we have Trustini Legal, and we have Daphne who's gonna join us. So we'll do the virtual hook. There we go. You have 5 minutes, Daphne. It's all yours.
Sounds good. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, okay, great. Okay, so we're Trustini. We're a full customer engagement tool building trust between injured persons and personal injury attorneys. So essentially we connect injured persons with personal injury attorneys in San Diego, and the vision is to do it all across the US. I'm formerly from Spartan Spark. We were a boutique marketing agency, and we developed this really cool search engine optimized software that we helped clients with, but we didn't make it through COVID. So I took that opportunity to create this project that I had in mind and that I thought would do really well and disrupt the personal injury space, because the marketing is very different in that space. And I thought I could bring trust-based marketing there. So what I did is I started with building a website for injured persons, making it look like we were up and running and already there, and did some tests to see if I could actually find these injured persons, because they're like a needle in a haystack. And then I had to go work on the lawyers, and I didn't know any lawyers in California or the US. So that's where the LeanStack project really fit in super well. And I loved it because the verification was so scientific, and everything I do is really scientific. But this part of my business process was really missing that scientific approach. So I really loved how we tackled all of that. And then the ability to like reset our hypothesis every time. So every time we met with Ash and the coaches, it was like, you know, how do we reset what we've just learned? So in stage one, it was me looking for attorneys in San Diego. And then we pivoted into finding attorneys anywhere in the US, because I struggled with getting connected with personal injury attorneys. Stage two was inviting them to a conversation. And again, nobody really wanted to talk to me. because it was just really hard to get them on the phone. So I invented a podcast. So what I did is then I built a whole other website just catering to the attorneys. And I'll share some lessons learned on that. So inviting them to a podcast to get them to know me, and then inviting them to stage 3, which is validating what did they think about the idea? Is this a good idea? Would they go for it? What are some other things that they're doing to get clients? And then stage 4 was negotiating. So asking for a commitment. And what I learned from that is I decided not to go for like a free trial. It had to be a paid trial. Otherwise, I thought that the experiment wasn't a valid experiment if nobody was willing to pay for what I was doing. So here's my lessons learned. At first, I couldn't find enough attorneys to talk to. I went to the California Bar Association and kind of like everywhere I could to find attorneys, but personal injury attorneys are this unique niche that kind of don't really hang out with other types of attorneys. So that was really interesting. And then how I ended up solving that is by finding influencers or connectors in the space. So going to like trust attorneys and employment attorneys, inviting them to the podcast, and then getting them to know me, talking about my project, and then they started connecting me with people. I still couldn't get enough attorneys to talk to and wasn't getting appointments fast enough. So then what I did is I started doing a LinkedIn lead gen campaign. So I started messaging anybody, attorneys in San Diego. So any attorney in San Diego through LinkedIn Messenger, and use some automation there to connect with people and send them like key messages. So just really scripted, really personalized messages, and to try to get more people in the pipeline. And then my messaging was wrong. And so what I was asking for was attorneys who'd spent over $25,000 in marketing, because I thought the ones who spent money on marketing would be more willing to spend on our project. But what happened is a lot of people didn't know attorneys who spent that much money because they were doing other things. So I had to keep figuring out what kind of messaging to use. And we finally got to that. And then I had some false positives. So I had somebody who referred an attorney to us who he was like, I'm ready to go, sign me up. And, we're all celebrating on our end over here. And when I got him on the phone, he was like, oh, I have to pay for this? You mean I can't pay after my case closes in 2 years? So that was a really big disappointment. So it was, kind of that back and forth, the entrepreneurial excitement and sadness that we all go through. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned was that I didn't factor in one major competitor. So in all my research, and this is where all the validation comes in, here's my competitive analysis. So Trustini saves time. I compared it to other marketing agencies, to directories, all these other things, but I didn't factor in referrals. And referrals is the biggest way that personal injury attorneys get their cases, because other attorneys get paid a commission on referrals and only attorneys can get referrals. So it was such a huge competitor to what I was doing that attorneys were like, well, why would I pay for you if I don't have to pay my referral for several years? I don't have to pay them till the case closes. And then my biggest, another big obstacle was all the rejection that I got. So there was a lot of no's. And when I was trying to close my first my first personal injury pilot, the law firm just said no so many times that I almost gave up. See this 5th no here? I almost gave up, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna see if I can turn this around, and I did. So that was amazing. The support that we received during the program, the accountability was really great. Some of my lessons there, I had to get really creative because I didn't want to let the team down at the next meeting. So just try to keep finding attorneys to talk to so I can do my validation. And no matter how things were going, how bad things were, just trying to keep pushing through because I didn't want to miss my appointments. The other thing was other points of view. So when I spoke to the attorneys, recorded the conversations and did transcriptions, the other team members were giving me feedback on things I hadn't noticed or the way that I was explaining things. So that was really helpful. And then the debrief. So talking about my own ideas, so talking with the team and Ash, about what I was thinking and kind of coming to a conclusion during that session. So just kind of like brainstorming and debriefing what I had in my mind and being able to articulate it was really helpful. And I've got some results that I can show at my table. I think I might be.
Yeah, you're just at time if you just want to wrap it up. But
so I can, if anybody wants to look at like the stats and everything, I'm super scientific about my approach, and I ended up signing a law firm, and we already closed it. Like they closed a deal from one of our projects. So this is like a week old now. Yay!
Oh, what a wonderful end. I was wondering kind of where that story was going and was really hoping that you would end it like that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic. There is so much hustle on your team. I saw a few people say that you validated and reached out to people, and you have hustled so hard. One of the questions was, how difficult was it for you to set up that podcast experience that you were working with different lawyers on?
Actually, that part was easy-ish. I actually went to a big podcaster and I asked him if I could, just observe what he does and kind of like copy, his model. So that's where I got the format for, and it was a lot easier to get people to join me on a podcast than say, hey, can I validate this idea with you? Especially because attorneys, they count every second of their time. So that was really helpful.
That's awesome. I love the creative reframing of that. So we're gonna let you go on the virtual hook, and anybody who has questions or wants to see these results can definitely head to the Trustini table. So next up, we have TryDawn Technologies, and we have Davis, who was just asking when he's going. So it's your turn, Davis. We're gonna bring you in on the virtual hook. Just give it a second to click in. Awesome.
Hey.
Hello, Davis.
Hi, Maggie. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
All right. Can I see in the chat? Can y'all see my screen? Well, thank you everyone so much. There's 3 parts to this presentation. First part is just telling you about the problem on the consumer and the therapist side. Second part is discussing the solution that we have and we've built. And then the third is discussing some traction. So very excited to get into the presentation. So how I like to start when I tell people about the organization is telling them a little bit about my story. So after I graduated college, I moved down to San Francisco to work in technology. And like most people in my early 20s, I actually went through a pretty bad depressive period. And at that point, I tried to find therapists, and it was a real pain. So I made lists, I did a bunch of research, and I actually aggregated 10 of the therapists that I thought would be a good fit for me. I reached out to all 10. After a week, only 5 had gotten back to me, and 3 of those 5, the caseload was full. So I eventually picked a woman that seemed promising, and she booked a month out, so I waited a month. After that month, I actually sat down with her, and way sooner than I thought, in the first 10, 15 minutes, I realized, wow, this isn't a great fit. So, me in my early mid-20s, depressed, I actually didn't find help. And now I work with this amazing therapist, and she's made so many things great in my life and improved my life in so many ways. So I thought, why the heck is it so hard to find a therapist? And the more I learned about the industry, the more I learned this wasn't just a client problem, this was also a therapist problem. So the story on the therapist side is a lot of these therapists want to get into private practice and start their own business, and the way that they can do it today is quite undesirable. So there's 2 ways they can get into private practice. They can start their own, which is great because they're an entrepreneur, they're building their own business, they're taking a risk. But there's a lot of risks that come with entrepreneurship. This group knows more than any. It's scary, and especially for therapists who really don't, they don't want to be business people. They want to help people. The other way people can get into private practice is they can join somebody else's, which is great because you get administrative support, you get community, you get billing, you get admin, insurance. But these practices are very expensive. It can take 70 to 80% of sales. So on the therapist side, we wanted to create a third way. So on the client side, we help people find a great fit by helping folks find a therapist either by they can self-serve via our marketplace, or we can match them actually by a contract or a contracted hourly matchmaker that we have. or they can select therapists from our largest network in Calgary. I think we have 58 therapists in network. On the therapist side, we want to provide all of the benefits of joining a private practice without the incredibly, almost exploitive, to be honest, cost. So think of this as like gig economy stuff, like Uber for private practice. Therapist comes out of college, they can go onto the application, get started quickly, and actually start seeing some new caseload. So that's problem solution. Now going into progress in the program. So I think an exciting thing that happened during the program is we raised $50,000 in private investment from a local individual who is neither friends nor family, so kind of on the angel side. A second thing is we increased our average take rate by 2x, and we're planning to 6x our average take rate. We've signed a therapist at 6x, and we're going to continue to do that. In terms of revenue, I mean, really small numbers, right? Like 5,000, 500, 1,000, 2,500, 2,000. But I think we're seeing progress in building a more repeatable model, which is really great. On the learning side, really have to thank Ash and Richard and the whole LeanStack team, or the whole Alberta Innovates team for the program, but more specifically Ash and Richard, because they really helped me and develop my thinking as an entrepreneur. I think the first thing's around constraint thinking. So what is the biggest thing holding the business back today? It used to be matching capacity because I would match every person manually, but now we've hired people and do text and email-based matchmaking. So knowing that I have a minute left, I wanted to leave some time for questions. In terms of what we're doing next, we're going to drive more top of funnel so we can increase revenue via digital marketing. So we're working with a digital marketing agency to do that. And we're also increasing our take rate, hopefully by 4x pretty soon and 6x in the next 6 months, by developing supporting therapist services like billing, administration, what have you. So that's Dawn. I actually don't have a closing slide, but yeah, any questions, please let me know. Or join me on the table.
This is fantastic. I was thinking while you were talking about how much entrepreneurs could actually gain from this. So, and then you touched on it kind of right away. So Nick has a question on the chat that says, how do you verify after the fact if there was a therapeutic alliance formed? I love the way you put that. Do you do a survey after?
Well, Nick's quite knowledgeable because therapeutic alliance is if you're using that term, it means he knows the field. So great question. Yeah, there's a head. We're not measuring therapeutic alliance today. But what we do know is that 1 out of every 5 person matched to a therapist actually refers another person. Over time, I really want to quantify the increase in therapeutic alliance because for large insurance companies, large businesses, if you can really decrease the amount of mental health issues you have, you can really tie that back to a reduction in disability claims. So that is something that we absolutely want to do, and I think will help us work with organizations like Alberta Blue Cross or large employers. So we need to do that at one point. It's a good call out.
That's fantastic. And I love this kind of matching piece. I know a lot of folks in my life who have gone to see therapists. They're like, we have to pay the full amount to sit with them. And then like you said, in the first 5 minutes, you might know that it's not a fit. So to have that kind of pre-matching, that's a fantastic piece to add.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Davis. If folks have more questions about Dawn, we only have one company remaining, so hold just a little tighter on those questions. And we're going to bring up Christian from Mindbloome, our last company for the night. So Christian, you're going to take us home tonight. There we go. You just need to unmute. You should get a little notification.
That's better.
There you go.
Hold on.
There you go.
All right. So first and foremost, hopefully I'll jump on my computer. So we already talked about mental health from the last company. So it's great that this space is growing. So mental health is a massive space. Depression's increasing. We're sort of a little bit more niche, but we're dealing with mental health as well. So hopefully, we can help each other out and hopefully excel, the other business that just talked about mental health, but a little bit more about us. The journey starts with you. So what Mindbloome is we create a platform for the casual to full-time gamer who's undergoing mental health challenges. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do. And this is the new scope of our platform itself, of connecting users to holistic and non-holistic practitioners and modalities. So we take the old way of looking at mental health, which is psychology and counseling, and we add in the Eastern philosophies of breath work, Ayurvedic medicine, the whole list, hypnotherapy, and we put it all together and we throw the choice for the person itself along with a basic assessment directive tool that really just fine tunes it and gets the alignment and offers the choices for the user itself. Now, what did we actually learn from LeanStack? So I came in with trying to take what my knowledge was and my prior experience in different entrepreneurship stuff or businesses that I've succeeded in. I had to really remove my ego. And it really, I wanted to get these big numbers in and really crunch down on trying to obtain, 1,000 users, blah, 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 blah. No, go small. We started talking with Ash, go small, get 10, smash that out, talk to another, do this, very fine tune, and really keep it small, simple, stupid, but at the same time, really make it practical. The second thing is doing a lot of tests, becoming a scientist. Like I put myself now when I speak with Ash and think about it, becoming a scientist and really doing a lot of, what's the right word, is like running a lot of tests and making sure that you're giving the future client or future user the service that they need to solve the problem that they have. And lastly, it really changed our process and our thinking on how to scale. We're not worried about the big numbers now. We're worried about getting the building blocks right so that we can truly achieve, scale in the future. And the issues that we found were demand for mental health services, long wait times, and limited options. And we sort of, cater to all those options with the Mindbloome platform, which gives you choice, gives you a directional tool, and gives you service within hours to, a day or so. So we're really happy with the progression that we've achieved. And it sort of looks like complementary alternative medicine mixed in with some psychology and counseling from what we know from the old type of way of dealing with depression and mental health, along with telemedicine, creates a booking service platform, sort of like the business before, but a little bit different because we're focusing on the gaming sector and really outlining the different areas of gaming where we're going into. And lastly, where are we going from here? We're finalizing our MVP. We're actually creating live gaming sessions that incorporate mental health elements and promoting good mental health to really get ourselves and branch ourselves into the gaming space. We've connected 6 people today, and we're going to get, our goal is to connect 100 users, create a monetization strategy, hopefully by April, May. And we have a partnership with a health insurance client. So we get to fulfill that hopefully by the end of July if we do everything accordingly. That is me. To questions.
Fantastic. If you want to stop sharing your screen, then we can see your.
Sorry. My apologies. There
all
we
good.
go.
All good. So when you talk about the gaming industry, are you talking about people who are working professionally?
We're talking about anyone that plays a game on their phone to part-time casual to full-time gamers. So we've actually had different partnerships with. So we're establishing different partnerships with the top 10 gaming companies. So 3 of them actually we're in talks with, who have identified that there is a massive gap in the market. Gaming, there is roughly about 2.4 billion gamers out there. So I'm not really worried about competition because that's a massive, massive business.
Awesome. We have one last question, and it's the last question of the whole presentation. So it's from Nick. He says, how do you get feedback on whether your service has worked or not? And from that, does that change what service people you connect people to?
Correct. So we've created an algorithm based upon, different assessment tools. And that has sort of created a system that goes, yep, this modality, this modality, this modality. As well, we use a lot of survey-based tools as well as a bit of notification on the different steps that the user goes through. So when it hits a certain step, we figure out, see the progress and see the input, I guess, is as you like to say. So we're trying to always make sure every step we got information to figure out where the bottleneck is and where the problem is, so we can adjust and pivot. It's not about me and what I think, it's about what the user thinks and how we can solve their problem.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic way to end it. We're going to pull you off the
Perfect. Boom.
And we will, I'll do some final announcements. So first of all, the reason that we had this program and the reason we're here tonight is Alberta Innovates. So I just wanted to remind everyone and thank Alberta Innovates for this program and for bringing these fantastic companies together. I also wanted to thank, on behalf of Alberta Innovates, the Alberta Innovation Network, which includes a number of the RINs across the province. They really helped to identify what companies could benefit from a program like this. So thank you so much to the Alberta Innovation Network for that. So for the rest of the evening, I'm going to give you a bit of a sense of what we're up to. Oh yeah, I see some cheering for Carla and Tara. Dana's behind the scenes also, both Danas. So give them lots of love. So now what we're going to do is we're going to leave presentation mode. We're going to head back to the Remo tables until about 6. So if you had a question that didn't get answered, or you just want to chat with some of these entrepreneurs or their coaches, now is the time. Some fun kind of social cues in Remo, unlike in, in-person conversations with Remo, we do suggest just join a table, join in the conversation. You don't need to kind of stop it and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, unless they ask. If it fits, that's awesome. If you want to leave, don't worry about cutting off the conversation. Lots of people are chatting about different things. Feel free to bounce around. A reminder to the companies, please stay at your tables so that if folks want to ask you questions, that you're there to answer them. Please go and check out all the companies. Their names are underneath the table, so you'll see that name, G2V, Mindbloome, all of these great companies that we have. At the bottom in the middle, we have a help table. So Dana will be there. If you have any questions, you can head there and you can ask her, and she'd be more than happy to help you. So get out there and meet all the awesome companies. Can't wait to meet them myself. So with that, I will